Hello, and welcome to the Divorced Dadvocate, where we help fathers sort through and navigate their life during and after divorce and create an amazing life for themselves and their children. I am Jude, your host. Thanks for being here today. It is the week of Thanksgiving here in the United States, and I have just so much to be grateful for. Grateful for all of you that are listening today. Grateful for some of the great men like Tim and Eric and Jason and Chris that I've had the opportunity of working with this week. I am so proud of you and the work that you're doing. If you're tuning in, I'm absolutely proud of you as well, because you are looking for and seeking a way in which to navigate through this uncertain time during divorce, or uncertain time or challenges that are coming post-divorce. So you're here seeking to better yourselves, better yourself, better your lives, better your children's lives, and that is absolutely commendable. And I'm grateful to have other men and other fathers that are doing that. So on that note, we are going to be talking about intersexual dynamics. God, you've got all this intersectionality, intersexuality, all kinds of different things and words nowadays that it's kind of hard to keep track of. But what I wanted to talk about was the rewriting of intersectional dynamics and how it's killing marriage. Now, all right, so I am thankful, among other things. So I'm thankful for my family, absolutely, and our good health, for this great country that I live in, for a greater good, a greater power than I, so many other things. And one of the things that I'm immensely grateful also, and you might think this is crazy and funny, is that since my marriage, I have gotten a grasp around what has been happening in our society around the rewriting of intersexual dynamics. Now, let's just quickly define what intersexual dynamics is. And it's a fancy word for how men and women relate, basically, how the genders relate. And so, I'm not going to get into this, like this gender or that gender. When I'm talking about masculine natures and feminine natures, that's all I'm talking about. It can be between same-sex couples, whatever that may be. In the context that we're working here, it's typically heterosexual, because we're talking about fathers that are going through divorce or have been divorced. So we're sticking with the heterosexual way in which we're communicating around this. So it would be men and women, husbands and wives. So it's how men and women, husbands and wives, communicate with each other. That's intersexual dynamics. And the reason I'm so grateful about having a better understanding is because it's helped me gain clarity about what happened in my marriage, but also what's happening throughout society, how it's impacting our kids. And I know if you're busy working and paying the bills and doing all that you do as a father, reading some of this stuff and geeking out on some of this stuff like I do is just not in your purview, because there's so many other things that you've got going on. But that's why I'm here, and that's why I want to share with you this article that I read in the Harvard Business Review. So the title of it was "Dads Commit to Your Family at Home and at Work." And so I'm not a regular reader of the Harvard Business Review. I've read it before. But this showed up under their big ideas / work, parenting, and pandemic section. So they've got all kinds of different sections. And so those of you not familiar with the Harvard Business Review, it is a wholly owned subsidiary that's a periodical, that they quote unquote scholarly journal that comes out, and it's owned by Harvard University. And they purport to be the world's most influential management magazine since 1922. And they find new ideas and classic advice on strategy, innovation, and leadership for global leaders, for the world's best business and management experts. So it holds some sway as a scholarly journal, at least to the extent that any one of you listening or anybody that reads it still holds any value in the psychology, sociology, gender study departments of some of these major universities, which I do not. However, I really feel that it's incredibly important to call out what is happening around this and these intersexual dynamics, as well as how we're relating with each other as husband and wife, or men and women, because it has an impact, like I said, on our children. And so let's get to the article here. It is Dads. The title was Dads, Commit to Your Family at Home and at Work. And so the summary of this gem of a scholarly article was, and I'm just going to read the whole quote. And pay attention to this. First sentence is the most impactful. While fathers are increasingly recognizing the value of caring for, educating, and raising their kids, there are still imbalances that make working parenthood more difficult for mothers. In particular, new research shows that fathers, on average, still do only around half of the unpaid work that mothers do. The good news is that men want to step up, and they can do so by acknowledging the problem, aiming for equity in household tasks, collaborating with their partners on decision-making, and speaking up at work about their family's needs. So I thought that was incredibly interesting, particularly that first sentence, that just now, all of a sudden, increasing that men and fathers are increasingly recognizing the value of caring for, educating, and raising their kids. So it started to make me wonder about whether my dad really, quote unquote, valued caring for, educating, or raising me, even though he was a tradesman for 34 years, would get up before dawn, would be sometimes back after dark, would take an hour one way to work and to put food on our table, to clothe my sister and me, to allow us to live in a nice house, in a nice house, a good neighborhood in the suburbs, to go to the best schools that we could afford. He even fixed the house and fixed cars and taught me how to do that, and played with us and showed up for most of our extracurricular activities. So, I mean, I guess he didn't really actually value, raising us or caring for, or educating or raising us, and that's just happening now. And it also made me wonder and think back about my grandfather who raised my father on a farm in Northwest Iowa, and who also would get up before the light came out, before sun came up, work on the farm all day long, come back and have a couple of maybe quote unquote free hours to quote unquote raise the kids before starting that whole process over again on the farm. So I don't know about you, but this idea that they're purporting in this summary of this article, to me, is absolutely ridiculous, because the only thing that's changed since my grandfather's day, or really ever, is these academics and propagandists and others who are trying to create a narrative that is redefining what value is for men and for dads. And it's insane to really think or to purport that they didn't value any of these things, and men are just starting to do this. Because since the beginning of time, men and women, husbands and wives, have worked cooperatively in order to raise families. And until just recently, the last, half century, 3/4 of a century, that entailed simply just trying to stay alive. really just trying to figure out how to weather the elements, get enough food for your family, find a great place to live. If you think back, if you wanted to be Andrew Carnegie or one of the wealthiest people in the world more than 100 years ago, would you rather have that where they had no penicillin, their children and their relatives were dying all the time from just simple sicknesses that can now be cured by antibiotics? Or would you rather live in a life now where we have all of these creature comforts? I gotta say, I would most definitely choose now. So therein lies our challenge, where now that we have not as much challenge and not as much strife in our life, that we have all this comfort, that these propagandists are starting to create problems and seek out difficulties where there simply are none. And this really bothers me, and this really upsets me, and it does so because the impact has profound implications as the generations go on. So we start this now with this false narrative around this, and then it gets passed on to our kids, and then it continues to get passed on, and it's a bad thing. It undermines so much in our lives. It undermines the idea and philosophies that men and women can work cooperatively together. Husbands and wives can work cooperatively together, because we have been doing it for centuries. We have been doing it since the dawn of time. And so, the other thing that's happened in this last half a century is that more and more women have entered the workplace, and this has been a fantastic. I don't think anybody can argue that this has been a good thing for women to have the equality of opportunity to make a choice as to what they want to do in their life. Do they want to go pursue a career as opposed to a family? That's fantastic. Do they have the equality of opportunity to choose any career that they would like? Absolutely. That's a fantastic thing. Do they have the equality of opportunity to choose to have a family as well as work? Absolutely, they do. And this is all a good thing, except when you're participating in a narrative that then tells men that, oh, I'm sorry, these changes are all happening, and now you need to change your natural tendencies around what it is that you want to do and how you are naturally wired to operate and work in order to cater to a choice that we have made. And this is where the problem is getting created. So somewhere the notion that we as men, as dads with our natural masculine tendencies who want to go out, who want to achieve, who, like my father and my grandfather, went out, worked, built buildings, raised, fed families, did the things that they did and raised while raising their family, is a bad thing. And it frustrates the heck out of me, because if not for men like my father, who, he was a tradesman. He was a tradesman in the city of Chicago. Many of the amazing skyscrapers that line the sky down there, he did the work on. This is stuff that is being passed on and is around and is benefiting society for generations and generations. My grandfather on the farm, farmers are amazing group of people that feed the world. And so to think that is not enough for them to be contributing to our society, that then because they haven't done the housework in the house, just frustrates me. And it's a false narrative. I mean, think about the men who have been responsible for some of the amazing things, the Henry Fords, I said, the Andrew Carnegies, Nikola Teslas, the modern day Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, etc. Why should men's natural masculine nature need to change in order to cater to this false narrative? And the answer is, It doesn't. Men shouldn't be made, and us fathers shouldn't be made, and husbands shouldn't be made to feel inadequate for not identifying with or desiring to want to have to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be involved. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't communicate with our partners, but it doesn't mean that we should be making wholesale changes and be listening to ridiculous articles around this about how we should be functioning in our lives around a single data point with false narratives, and be made to feel bad about our natural way in which we're operating within our families. So, and let's also be clear that there have been many men that have regretted their one-track blinders on attempts to just go after their mission in life, and have at their deathbed said, "Oh, I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I wish I would have gotten to know my kids better," or whatever that is. But it's a choice. So that would be the men's choice to have the opportunity to do that, except that these propagandists want there to be not just an equality of opportunity for women or wives, they want it to be an equality of outcome. So everything's got to be like equal, 50-50. And that's absolutely absurd. And it's absurd in that second part of that summary where it says, new research shows that fathers on average still do only around half of the unpaid work that mothers do. And it's ludicrous. And it's a single data point. And it makes me wonder, it makes me think back, because I did have these challenges with my ex. It would be like, have you done the dishes? And I'd be coming in off the 30-foot ladder that I just put away from being up on the second story of our house, fixing a roof tile that came off in the storm the night before. And I'm like, no. Or I had just done the brakes the week before on the car. And so, so should, in the spirit of equality of outcome, should I say, oh, honey, next storm, you're going to have to pull out that 30-foot ladder. You're going to have to do a site check on the roof to make sure, because you know what, it's your turn to do that. Or honey, the brakes are going to last about 30, 50,000 miles. So make sure to put it on your calendar that you're going to have to change those out next time around. I mean, really, how stupid. I don't know about you, but that just sounds insane to me. And it's not even something that, as a man in my masculine nature, that I'm doing because I'm looking for reimbursement or reward. It's something I'm doing because it's helping my family, and it's something you just got to get done. Like, you got to get it done. And my masculine nature is, I want to get it done, and let's get it done. And that's good. Okay, great. So the problem is, they've created this false narrative, and these are nonpartisan think tanks. They advocate. So what it is, they're advocating for work-life justice policy programs. Now, I got to tell you, I have no damn idea what that is, but all I see it is simply stirring the pot of deceit and deception that make us wary of each other. And we can't fall for it. We absolutely can't fall for it. And I want to share with you some other data points that come from a fantastic article from the Institute for Family Studies, and it's called "The Myth of the Lazy Father" by Robert Verbruggen. And what he did is, he looked, instead of what these academic propagandists are doing, is they're taking a single data point and they're saying, oh, men are only doing half of housework. Well, this is similar to the false narrative around women only make X amount of dollars per every dollar, or X whatever cents per dollar that men make. And it's very poor scientific research. Any social scientist worth his salt is going to look at things across a broader spectrum with more data points than just a single one. And so what this gentleman did is he went in and he looked at a much bigger set of data points, including paid work, unpaid work, grocery shopping, all of the things that families do and work out and figure out how to do together. And the things that he found, so the 3 points that he found was among married couples living together with kids, if anything, it's dads who do more work in total, adding up paid work, housework, childcare, and even shopping. Oh my God, no way. The narrative is false if you look at more data points than just one. The second was moms do work more in some specific circumstances, but the data acquits fathers as a group of the slacking charges so frequently leveled against them. That's the single data point that they're using to create and spread this false narrative. And the third point he found was the biggest complaint that is actually consistent with the numbers, that moms and dads do different blends of homework and paid work, is not necessarily a problem at all. And to insist otherwise is to devalue parents' own preferences. And this is where this false narrative is killing marriages and killing families, because what they're doing is they're creating a wedge between men and women, husbands and wives, with something that is absolutely a false narrative. So it's an excellent read. I'll put it in the show notes below for you to go and look at. I'm not gonna go through this whole article, but it is fantastic. One of the things, and this is really fascinating. So one of the things is he finds is remarkably similar time investments by working moms and dads in the same situation. So he broke this down in two categories, which was men who work full-time and their wives who work part-time. And he found that the pay, dads in this case do 62 hours worth of total work each week, while moms only do 59 hours. So men actually do more if you factor in all of those things together. And then he studied where both moms or both husbands and wives work full-time. Dads did 63 hours in total work and moms did 62. So still dads were doing more work. And then he broke it down the other way, which was dads who do that work full-time and mothers who work full-time in the house. And when he broke it down that way, it was almost identical at 62 hours for dads and 61 hours for moms. Now, here's one where it gets, the one data point where it gets really flipped, which I think is interesting and fascinating, is when the mom works full-time outside of the house and the dad stays home and works full-time in the house. That flips where the men who are staying home only do 33 hours and the moms do 46 hours. So there's something with the stay-at-home dads that they're not really holding up their end of the bargain here, but that's a pretty small minority of households that are out there right now. So anyway, a fascinating article. You know, I think I want to in closing just say that I feel compelled to point this out, that we need to be be standing up to and questioning when we start to hear this stuff. Because I did a Google search then on this after just about the hours and whatnot, and it's just filled with pages and pages supporting this false narrative. And somewhere buried in there was this article from the Institute of Family Studies that was an alternative. And so whether it's an article that you see like this Harvard Business Review article, or a conversation that we're having, or somewhere else in the workplace where this comes up, that we need to be questioning these opinions that are masquerading as facts. And that's what they are. They are opinions from academics, propagandists, whoever else that have some, and I'm not even speculate what their dog is in this fight, but they have they're creating a narrative that is working against our families and that is pitting us against men against women, husbands against wives, and we don't need it. It doesn't help our families. It doesn't help our children. And going forward, if that is the narrative that we have and that is what our children are hearing, then it's going to create more and more problems. So that's all I got today. I was really, really worked up about this. It's akin to lying for me, because if you take just a small piece of something and you don't talk about the broader spectrum of what's going on, to me, that is lying through omission and not talking about a broader narrative. And, men and women, husbands and wives, families work incredibly hard to cooperate, to be together, to figure things out, to create a good life for our families and for our children. And I know that's why you're here today listening. And so that's also why I point these things out and geek out on reading these articles and write the articles. You can also read my article about this at medium.com. It's called the Rewriting Intersexual Dynamics is Killing Marriage. And I'll put that in the show notes below. Also, if you can help me out, like this. If you're watching it, like this. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening on any one of the podcast forums, please write me a review. That would help immensely. Also, I had a screw up on the website with my scheduling platform. So if you had tried to go in and saw that there just was not a lot of availability for one of those 30 minutes free, no obligation breakthrough sessions, then try to go back and get in there. It is fixed. I apologize for that screw up. I am getting old, so where technology is getting more and more confusing for me. So go in there, let's talk, find out what you've got going on. I know the holidays can be a little bit challenging for everybody, particularly if you're going through some transitions around not having the kids at holidays. Please reach out to me. I'm here and I want to talk. So thank you. Happy Thanksgiving week and take care.